Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa and today I'm going to be doing some bookish quizzes. Recently Claudia from Spinster's Library did a quiz on what classic book she was because she is mainly a classics reader and wanted to see if there was a book that would particularly suit her for finding her next classics read. I will link that below if you want to check it out. But that inspired me to do my own because I like these bookish quizzes, and I think these particular ones she found on Penguin's website are like particularly good. Sometimes they feel like they don't make much sense, but I like the ones that she found. And I think these quizzes are a lot more fun when you do it with other people and like talk about what you got. So I would love to know what you get for these quizzes. Claudia did one, I'm gonna do several. So we will go through the one that she did a little quicker than the others, and we'll probably go a little bit more in depth on the other ones. So let's see, we've got which literary monster are you? I know I want to do that one. Which classic novel are you? We'll start with that. Which famous detective are you? Sounds fun. Alright, so the one that Claudia took is which classic book is your perfect match? So what's the best place to have an adventure? A big old house, dark city streets, a secret laboratory, or the sea. One of the things is that there is a difference between the places that I would like to be and the things that I would like to read about. Although for this particular question, I both like to read about and be in big old houses. Although I'd also like to read about secret laboratories. But I don't think I would like to be in a secret laboratory because I would doubtless knock something over and explode. So next is to pick an activity: flirting and dancing at a party, exploring life's greatest mysteries, risking everything on a secret mission, or taking time to reflect and explore nature. And so for that, this is where we find the differences, because I like to read about flirting and dancing at a party. I don't like to do those things. Whereas I would like to explore life's greatest mysteries, but I wouldn't like to read about that because that sounds really boring as far as reading about someone else doing that. Risking everything on a secret mission, I would really like to read about but would not like to do. And taking time to reflect and explore nature is something I would like to do but not read about. When I first did this quiz, I answered what I would like to do. So this time I'm going to answer what I would like to read about. So I'm going to go with risking everything on a secret mission. Then we have your favorite kind of hero is from humble beginnings, a romantic, striving for a better world, or a bit of an outsider. And to me, I like all of these things, but striving for a better world is the most important, and I love Jean-Luc Picard. So we're gonna pick that. Okay, you can travel in time and or space. Where would you most like to go? Regency England. Only if I got to pick my social class and family, because if you're poor or you have a family who wants to marry you off as a woman, your life's gonna suck. If you're poor, your life's gonna suck even if you're a guy, but you know, there's more and more difficulties depending on who you are. Same with Victorian London and the Age of Reason. But I like to read books about those times because the author gets to pick what's going to happen to people instead of what actually happens to people. Then Jazz Age New York, which is kind of the same thing, not as bad but similar. A remote island or the not too distant future. And I originally picked A Remote Island, and what I got for that was one of the books by the lady who wrote A Room of One's Own. But I would most like to read about Regency England. I read about those a lot. Choose a goal: to find a romance, to seek my fortune, to make a groundbreaking discovery, to make something beautiful, or to overturn a powerful regime. Now once again, I don't want to find romance myself because, well, in a book that's entirely a romance, I wouldn't want my life to be a romance book because there are other things that are more important to me. Now, if I could have a really nice ace romance that includes a partner who is accepting of my sex repulsedness, that would be really nice. But I do like other things. Seek my fortune I don't care about. Make a groundbreaking discovery would be nice, but once again, if this was happening in any age other than this one, and sometimes even this one, and I'm a woman, I would not get credit for the brand-breaking discovery, and I like credit, so probably not. To make something beautiful, I do like doing that. Overturn a powerful regime. If I was in a post-apocalyptic society, I would be one of the people who just got killed off, to show how terrible everything is. So probably not meant for one of those, but I do like reading them. And I definitely don't like reading about making something beautiful, when that's the whole plot. I like reading about artists as characters, but for plot, no thank you. So let's go with romance. Okay, sure. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Since I'm going for what I would like to read, that's valid, as it is one of my favorite books, especially among classics. It says, if it's romance you're after, you can't do better than Jane Austen's classic tale of Elizabeth Bennet, her sisters, and the enigmatic Mr. Darcy. We don't know about you, but the gorgeous cover of this vintage classics edition already has us swooning, which makes me think that, based on me fiddling around with the other answers, that it makes me think the last question of what type of story and the previous question, what timeline, are the most important questions, because they always make sense with those last two, but the previous ones don't seem to enter in much. But I would love to hear from you if your answers are the same at the end, but different in the beginning, if you get a different book, and what kind of differences you find there. That would be very interesting. For now, I'm gonna go take a different quiz. How about, which literary monster are you? All right, your mate and you. This is penguin.co.uk, by the way. There's also a quiz on how well do you remember your GCSEs. So your mate and you have just had a big disagreement. You sock them in the face, tell them it's fine, but secretly spite them later, scream at them from across the street, freeze them out and stop talking to them for days, attempt to bite them because you smell blood in the water. Your mate. We're gonna say this is fairly good friends. You know, I'm very anti, what's it called? Passive aggression. I'm more like aggressive aggression, and then you get it out and it's not festering. So if it was something that was really important enough to do any of these things, I'm gonna go with sock them in the face. Although personally, I don't usually go for the face. I'm more of a smack them in the arm type of a person. Next question is violence ever the answer? I think we answered that in the last question. Almost always, maybe down the line, if I'm angry, maybe. I don't know. No, yes. Quiet domination will do. Or I will bite you. I really like the last one, so I'm gonna pick that. How do you deal with criticism? Lashing out, quietly accepting it, but plotting their demise. I guess this is what type of monster are you, so there's no healthy options. Getting a bit frantic. You will not tolerate this. You can't hear criticism underwater. I think the last one's pretty good because I'm more of a hide under a blanket type of person when I get too much criticism, or of a type that hurts my feelings as opposed to, you know, helping me get better at things. By the way, I am someone who critiques people in a really roundabout, despite not liking passive aggression, because I don't find this as aggressive. When I care about someone and like them and want them to be happy, I word criticism really, really softly with lots of caveats. You know, the way that women talk in the workplace, but in an actual effort to be nice, not an effort to make them think that I'm not bossy or whatever. And the reason I do that is because that's how I'd like to have it worded to me, because that's the only way that it doesn't hurt my feelings. So I'm more of a person who's like, just kind of back away and don't, if it is hurting your psyche, just kind of wash it away. Don't get mad at the person, just kind of let it percolate in the back of your mind until you're in a better place to address it. So your ex texts you. I don't have any of those. Your response is to immediately send back the most rude, hurtful reply you can. It doesn't say what kind of text it was. Was it a how are you happy text, or Also, was it a bad breakup? There are things we need to know to understand what to do in this situation. Pretend to be friendly but spread a nasty rumor about them. Go berserk. Tell them your side of things, but if they accept it as truth, ghost them? I'm also half trying to figure out what book these things are referencing and usually not getting it, except maybe when it's Frankenstein's monster. It's a little bit easier when it's that. Swim up from below them and attack when they're least expecting it. Okay. I ghost people a lot, not because I actually don't like them, but just because I'm too scared to interact with them because I have social anxiety. It's not a purposeful ghosting, it's just a, I would like to be friends, but I don't have the social energy. If you could have a villainous superpower, it would be incredible strength, shape-shifting, flight, mind control, or the ability to leave the water and breathe above ground. That would make more sense if it was the reverse of that, but okay. I would, oh, they've put both flight and shape-shifting on here, because normally flight is my go-to, but if I could shape-shift into a cat, my life problems would be solved, because I could just be someone's cat, and that would be my life, and I never turn back into a human, so, yeah, I think I'm gonna pick that one. Which is the ideal scenario to exact vengeance? With brute force, deviously, unexpectedly, and suddenly, in the icy, lonely, cold winter, in the salty waters of the ocean where humans dare to swim. There's a lot of water ones, and I don't know what book that is, but I assume they're all from the same book. See, if I was actually gonna get vengeance on my bad people list that I definitely don't have, I think deviously, because I don't want to get arrested for assault. There's one cupcake left in the fridge, but 3 of you want it. How do you get it? See, generally the way I handle this situation is that I am the one who has made the cupcakes, therefore I get to be the arbiter of who gets how many cupcakes, and I get the last one if there's only one left. But let's see, push the others out of the way, disguise yourself as an impartial arbiter of who gets it, then steals it, take small bites out of it that are imperceptible till it's gone, quietly whisk it out of sight for eating later. I don't eat cupcakes because I'm a bloodthirsty shark. There's a classic book about a shark specifically. I do hide food from one of my housemates who binge eats any snack food that you keep in the general area of the house. And I just hide it in my room because that's the only place it's safe, so I'm gonna pick quietly whisk it out of sight. What else should we know about you? I can be quite violent, I can be quite manipulative, I can be quite chaotic, I can be quite cold. Literally, I don't know how to make this clearer, I am a shark. I'm not a shark. When I'm mad, I generally go the cold route. Like, there's a certain amount of chances you get and then you're out of my life, so I think I'll go with that one. I'm the White Witch from the Chronicles of Narnia. No, I really don't like her. But I guess it makes sense. It says she can hear your thoughts, turn dissenters to ice, control the seasons, and her cackle carries on the wind like an untreatable airborne virus. That's a little awkward. But you're still not convinced of her sheer purity of evil. Consider this. She canceled Christmas. Like her, you live for power and control. You love control. I mean, kind of. I like control over my life. I don't really care about controlling other people's lives. I would really love to hear you guys' answers for that quiz, because I would like to know what other monsters are the options. But I noticed that she is not a shapeshifter, and that was like my most important thing. But I guess they don't weight the quiz that way. Which famous detective are you? That sounds like fun. So, pick your poison. Malt whiskey, creme de menthe, I don't know what that is. A snifter of port, only the best French red wine, a gimlet, don't know what that is either. There's nothing like a cup of tea, beer, or Jim Beam. Don't know what that is either. I don't like any of these things unless the things that I don't know what they are non-alcoholic and taste good. So I'm gonna go with a cup. I really don't like tea. Let's go with creme de menthe because it could be something good. Which quote below resonates with you? Strip the veneer and the world has moved only a couple of steps from the cave. Wherever there is human nature, there is drama. That's true. There are 3 things you can never have enough of in life: chocolate, friends, and theater. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. I do really like that one. That's my favorite Sherlock quote, I think. Ability is what you are capable of doing. Motivation determines what you do. Attitude determines how well you do it. That's okay. It's what's in yourself that makes you happy or unhappy. Yeah. Depends whether you have enough serotonin or not. I love to talk about nothing. It's the only thing I know anything about. Sick is a relative concept. We're all sick. The question is, what degree of functionality do we have with respect to the rules society sets for desirable behavior? Wow. That's like totally yes. So I'm gonna pick that. Hello, Frodo. How would your nearest and dearest describe you? A professional misanthrope, incredibly confident, fiercely independent, obsessive but brilliant, honest and upstanding, a natural busybody, a loose cannon, a lone ranger. I really do like to be by myself, so that could be either a lone ranger or fiercely independent. I'm not confident. I don't think I'm a misanthrope, and I am not a busybody. I am honest and upstanding. Let's go with that. That's nice. I can be nice to myself. Whether you love it or hate it, what city defines you? Edinburgh, Brussels, a small town in America, London of old, Los Angeles, Bath, modern London, or Oslo? I live in a small town in America next to a tree of cities in America, but I really don't like some of the nastiness that happens in small town, but I do like the coziness that happens in a small town. London of old was gross and dirty. Modern London isn't that much better. La la la. At least I've been to Edinburgh. I'm gonna pick that. When it comes to sniffing out suspects, you believe everyone has the ability to be a bad guy. Kind of. From the people I've met, it seems like kind of like that Ratatouille, where the guy says a chef can be anyone. It doesn't mean that anyone can be a chef, but a chef can be from anywhere, and you can't tell from looking at them and from their education and whatever. I feel like it's kind of like that with bad guys, because there are people, it's just not in their nature to put themselves first, and there are other people who it really is, and that's how they're going to live their whole life. And there are some people who would make certain choices that other people would never make, and it's not really based on your background or much of anything. It's just something you have to get to know about a person. It's always the first person you suspect. Probably not unless you're in an episode of Bones. Those who look innocent often aren't. It depends on who's doing the looking and whether they're judging people based on, you know, queer and neurodivergent coding or not. Every clue must be examined before the blame is cast. Yes. In following the money. In looking close to home. In being ruthless. Everyone is a suspect. The whole people are generally murdered by people they know quite well is true. And I am quite fond of using statistics. But I really like every clue must be examined before the blame is cast. To unwind, your favorite thing to do is listening to records, gardening, writing, playing an instrument, playing chess, knitting. Your mind is always on the case. Ha ha ha. Working out. My actual favorite thing to do is gardening. It's not... I would like to say writing, but that's not true. It makes me tired, whereas gardening makes me relaxed. All you want in life is to be left alone, to be the smartest person in the room, to be well liked, to live by your own rules, to live an honest life, to be kept busy, for justice to prevail, to find someone who understands you. Oh, there's several good ones. I really like the justice, the finding someone who understands you, living by your own rules, and being left alone. All sound really nice. I really like the last one though. That's nice. If you could only read one crime genre, what would it be? Police procedural, golden age of crime. I don't know what that is. Amateur sleuths, I hate those. They always seem to stumble into the truth. It never seems to make sense of how they got there. Classic British crime, hard-boiled, cozy crime, psychological thrillers, or Scandinavian. Definitely police procedural. My favorite series is a police procedural series. This says I am Inspector John Rebus, coming to life in Noughts and Crosses in 1987, which is a different thing from the more new book called that. Ian Rankin's misanthropic detective John Rebus is one of the most enduring characters in crime fiction. For 20 years and across 24 novels, Rebus has endured the daily grind of tackling Edinburgh's dark underbelly. For Rebus, ever the pessimist, his hometown is just a crime scene waiting to happen. That's interesting. I haven't read about him, so I don't know how accurate that is. But now I kind of want to, and hope it's not totally based on me picking Edinburgh. Thank you so much for watching. I would love to see what results you get from these quizzes. I will try to link all of them below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!